Good morning. Welcome back to session on design thinking. In the previous session, we talked about principles for successful innovation design. Today, we will look at what are the models that are available for design innovation process, which are built within the principles of successful innovation design. So going back, recollecting, what are the principles of successful innovation? The first one is build innovations around experiences. Just don't build it as a product, what you can give. You also try to build in the form in which the other people can generate out of the product that you have generated. Don't think innovation system as alone, think it as a system. Cultivate an innovation culture for everyone within the organization and have a disciplined innovation process built into the system. The design innovation process starts with real. So what is real? We observe and learn from sensible factors from the real world situations. We look around, we see the people, we sense our environment within us, and then learn from the environment. So for example, simple part, when we were in child, when the candle is lit, we always try to move towards it. Once we feel the heat of the candle, next time we avoid ourselves moving towards the candle, feeling that it will harm you. This is what we mean by the term sensible factors from the real world situations. Then we try to get a full understanding of the real world by creating abstractions. Meaning is that I just said now, we were interested to move towards the light. When we felt that fire will harm us is an abstraction that we understood from it, which gives you a conceptual model to reframe the problem. So do not rush wherever the light is available. See what it is. Only then we explore new concepts in the abstract terms before we evaluate them and implement them for acceptance in the real world. So if you clearly look at this, the design innovation process involves 4: real, abstractions, new concepts, and implementation. To achieve all that, we require fluidity in our thinking between the real and the abstract. So we need to have a clear flow of information between what we see and what we define. So as simple part as of creativity or an exploratory process, the design innovation process also moves back and forth through modes of activity. That is like moving from real towards abstract, understanding towards making or implementation. So what we can do, all this process, real, abstraction, new concepts, and implementation, we can put it in terms of a 2x2 matrix. You can see this here: real, abstract, understand, make. Make is implement. So a simple 2x2 map illustrates the design innovation process. The lower left quadrant that you see here, which is based on observation. The lower left quadrant represents research. This represents research. About what? Knowing reality. The upper left quadrant represents analysis. So what is this analysis? Refers to abstraction or defining. This is where we process the information about reality in abstract terms and try to come with good mental models to drive the innovation. So in the previous example of women carrying water on their heads, what is the observation? That is the research, that they are traveling long distances, they are socializing among themselves. That is the only time that they are able to speak to each other and all this. From that, what is that you can conclude? You cannot prevent them from going to water. But how can you make their process easy in carrying the water? That is what you do in your analysis. The top right quadrant, this one, the top right quadrant is a synthesis. So whatever the abstract models that we have developed during the analysis are taken as basis for generating new concepts or ideas. So this is where we generate the ideas of how we can strengthen the analysis. And once we have generated or defined the ideas or the things, and lastly, the lower right corner, it defines the realization of our concepts, which are implementable. All these four quadrants, research, analysis, synthesis, and realization, combined together is a well formalized process model with which you can drive innovation in yourself or in your organization. Within this 2x2 matrix of research, which is related to observation, analysis, which is related to principles, synthesis, which is related to plans, and realization, which is related to tests, there are 7 distinct modes of activity for design innovation. Within this 2x2 matrix of research, analysis, synthesis, and realization, we have 7 distinct modes of activities for design innovation. They are sense intent, no context, no people, frame insights, explore concepts, frame solutions, and realize offerings. So within this matrix or framework, we have 7 distinct modes of activities. They are sense intent, no context, no people, frame insights, explore concepts, frame solutions, and realize offerings. So if you look into this, no people, sense intent is a beginning. Sense intent is a beginning. Know the context, know the people is observation. Frame insights is analysis, or principles. Explore concepts, frame solutions is synthesis. And realize offerings is realization. Understanding the outlines of the innovation process can greatly help innovators by providing a guiding structure and sequence for any given project. So we understand this outline of innovation process. So then we have a clear-cut methodology how we can make our innovation or idea generation process much stronger. And we have to also remember this, that this process, whatever we are talking framework, is always non-linear. Generally, we always feel that we should follow the sequence. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 written. So we should always go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7. Although the idea of a process implies a sequence of events, this can always be misleading. And many projects are actually non-linear. They're actually non-linear. For example, a project may begin with a sudden brainstorm, that is like exploring concepts, and then proceed backwards to research and analysis to validate and improve the idea, followed by further exploration and iteration. So now suddenly say that I have got an idea. Now this idea normally comes as third one. Now to formulate that whether this idea would be a right one or not, and to strengthen, I have to again do a research. So I need to understand the intent, I need to understand the context, I need to understand the people. So rather than moving forward, I move back. Simple example, going back to the same example of women carrying water on the heads. As soon as I saw, I wanted to provide some solution to reduce the burden of it. So then what did? I went back to their village, sat with them, understood their cultures, understood their necessities and everything. Then again I went back and provided a solution to this. So there's nothing like you always move from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can start anywhere, move around depending on how you have initiated the process. That's the reason we typically say this, the design innovation process is non-linear. Along with the design innovation process being non-linear, it is also iterative. So to complete a particular task, a particular solution, it is not that you'll always move from say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, your job is done. You may have to repeat this process multiple number of times. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The reason is what? So first you would have understood the people. From that you would have come to a conclusion what you have to do to the people. Then maybe you generate a prototype. You feel that the prototype is not working properly. So what do? Again, you try to come back and try to understand the people. Why the prototype is not functioning in the right way. Or after that, you have developed a prototype and then implemented. Still, you find that it is not 100% acceptable to the people. Then again, you will try to go back and understanding their needs and requirements. So you keep on iterating. It is like say solving Range Kutta method in your mathematics, and you keep doing this process front and back until you provide a right solution with human-centric approach. So as I said, the design innovation process is also iterative. It requires many cycles through the process, and often one or more cycles are cycles within the cycles, rather than being a direct sequential path. So a project might start with an intent and some contextual research, then follow several consecutive rounds of user research and analysis, with initial insights being fed back to the user for validation. Then several rounds of concept exploration, user feedback through prototype and testing, refinement of analysis, and henceforth. So doing more iterations generally leads in higher value, more successful innovations, although not if pursued for too long are without discipline. So if you do not follow a proper discipline in this, even doing a lot of iterations may not give you a right proportion. All these iterations will always provide you higher value of and successful innovation, provided you have incorporated discipline in doing this process. So example, when we write the examination, after we have finished writing the examination, again we cross check our question paper, answer paper, to see whether the things that we have written are right or wrong. Or if they are not satisfactory, we keep on adding 1 or 2 words. Or if there is something which is misleading, we strike off. This is what we mean by iterative. By doing this, we are coming to a conclusion that my paper will give me this number of marks and it will be accepted by the evaluator and provides good understanding of my answers. So always remember, design innovation process incorporates 7 modes of operation, and the design innovation process is always non-linear and iterative in nature. The 7 modes of design innovation process. The first one is sense intent. So this is a matrix, 2 by 2 matrix, where you have research, analysis, synthesis, and realization. Within this lie the 7 modes. This dot, the blue color dot that you see, is the first one, that is sense intent. So as discussed earlier, there are 7 distinct modes of the design innovation process, out of which each one has its own goals and activities. So what we will try to do now, we will try to introduce you these, and in proceeding sections, units, we will talk to them about in detail. The first mode is sensing the intent. So early on this process, what we do, we are trying to figure out where to start. Sense intent is where to start. What is the purpose? Where to start? Before jumping straight into the project, we take a pause and consider the changing world around us. We look at all the changes happening in business, technology, society, culture, policy, and like. We gather the latest happening, cutting edge developments, and latest news. We will study the trends that can affect our topic area. We look at overall effects of these changes. All this offers us a way to reframe our initial problem and look for a new innovation opportunities. It helps us to think initial intent where we should be moving. So how can we sense the intent? Purpose. Where to start? Simple example let us take now. COVID-19 situation. Everyone is looking for oxygen. There is a shortage of oxygen availability. There are devices called concentrators, but their availability is less. We do not have manufacturing facilities in India. Now I have to sense the intent. Oxygen requirement, patient's ambiguity. Where should I start? How can I understand from where should I start? To understand that, I should keep on having the information of gathering the latest, searching for the latest happenings, cutting edge developments, and latest thinking going in and in the field. I have to have the information related to this. Mapping the overviews, taking a step back from details, and creating high level views of changes going on the topic in the area. So what are the happenings? Suppose let us say that I wanted to create an oxygen generation system. What are the present technologies available? What are the commodities available for it? What is the value that I can create in this area? Mapping the trends, getting high level overview of relevant trends in business. So now if I develop a process, how will the business be? What kind of technology? What will be the need of the society? Whether I can have a cultural implication, and what are the policies governing this? Reframing the problems. So not just providing the solution, you have to reframe. Simple example, when Toshiba was the one who was leading in manufacturing of laptops long back. So they wanted to make changes into their laptops and all that. So what they did, instead of developing new features into laptops, they reframed their solution as mobile phone application, where you can do all the activities what you can do on your laptop. So rather than being a laptop, they generated a form top. That is what we mean by reframing. Understand the intent, try to put the solution in a different perspective, like a form of, we have water bottles which are able to carry water, which does not provide any smell to the, add any smell to the water or contamination to the water. Now I want to develop a water bottle. What I do, I reframe. I will add a filter into the water bottle so that even when you're traveling, you can get in water from everywhere and always take a fresh, clean water for drinking. That is what is refining the problem, so that could create a high value innovation and stating the initial intent, outlining the hypothesis of how organizations could take advantage of innovation opportunities. This is what we mean by the term sense intent. How can we sense the intent? Purpose. How can we sense intent in the sense? How can we identify the opportunity? How can we identify the need, requirement? By gathering the latest information. Once the information is obtained, we have to create overviews, and we also have to look at the trends. Once all this information is achieved, we have to reframe problem, stating the initial intent. The second mode is knowing the context. Know the context. So here we will study the context, which is the circumstances or events that affect the environment in which our invention is being done. Our invention could always be existing or could exist. We will try to study how our innovation will perform in the market. We focus on what we can give. There could be other products similar to us. We will try to observe how they perform. We will try to study our own organization. We will try to look at our competitors and relations to our competitors in the industry. We will also try to understand the government policies and regulations which can affect our innovation topic. And majorly, we will try to pay attention to what is transforming our innovation, which includes society, environment, industry, technology, business, culture, politics, and economics. So what we have to do in this no context, we have to plan for research. We have to create a work plan for understanding the context based on available time, resources, methods, and expected deliverables. Should search for knowledge base through the large quantity of data that is already existing to find out the emerging patterns. We should map evolution. We should create overviews of key industry developments, eras, timelines, and likely futures. We have to do comparisons. We should diagnose the conditions by gaining the perspective on organization's capabilities, the performances of our organization, and industry pattern for innovation, and asking experts, communicating experts in the field, understanding their analytics, opinions, and recommendations. I took an example of oxygen generation system. I have an idea. Can I directly go into it? No. What should I do? I should plan for search. I should search for knowledge base in this area. I have to look at how many evaluations have been done. I have to make comparisons with the existing oxygen generators. I should diagnose the conditions and ask experts like doctors, industry persons on what can be incorporated into my innovation. The third mode is knowing people. So here we try to understand people, or the end users or other stakeholders, their interaction with everything during the daily lives. And this mode, traditional market research techniques are the most useful ones. But to explore the person's unmet and unspoken needs, we must have more powerful methods and tools. Here we use observation and ethnographic research methods to learn about people in ways that are different from interviews. The key objective in this mode will be to extract the most valuable information from our observation. So any insight that we develop after interacting with the people is an interesting revelation or a learning that is very much important for the innovation. Insight is an interpretation of what is observed, and this is often the result of asking a question, why? So here, to do this, what we have to do? We have to have research. We should have the research objective. So when I talk to people, I should have a purpose for what I am talking to people. So I should have my clear objectives. I should have the target users. Say I am developing an agricultural product. I should talk to the farmers. I am developing a household product. I should talk to housewives, mothers, wives, sisters. I should be able to develop fieldwork protocols, budgets, and observing people. To observe the people, to understand the people, to make a note of their daily activities, I should have to hire few people who can do the field work, document the people, their activities and interactions with the objects and environment. Asking people, like conducting surveys, going to the houses, having a fixed questionnaire, asking them, discussing with the users and gathering feedback and validation. Engaging people, involving people to participate in activities, conversations, and interactions with the researchers. Do you people watch CASH program, which is conducted by Suma? If you look at that, to the participants, there are certain questions that are put up where the participants can select the question and have to choose the top 3 which are correct. From where are they developing those questions from? They talk to the audience, people. From there, they develop. That is what we mean by the term knowing the people and engaging the people. Organizing finding, collecting observations and research data, and you should tag them with keywords and identify where there is a lapse in the research, and our innovation should focus on filling that gap in the research. Fourth mode of design innovation process is framing insights. After conducting research, the next challenge is to bring the structure to what has been found and learned from the previous mode. So far in mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, we were trying to observe, understand and all that. Once all that is done, then you have to make a techno-business analysis. People's requirements are understood. How you can bring them? What are the conclusions that you can draw out of them? This is where we do the frame insights. The next challenge is to bring the structure to what has been found and learned from the previous mode. So what we do, we cluster and organize the data that is gathered in the previous 3 modes and try to find out the important patterns. We will try to analyze the contextual data, view patterns, to point the untapped market opportunities and niches. In the previous example, we took one sentence. I am a college student. I hate folding the laundry. This is what we get from the 3 inputs. So what is the insight that is I have to frame here? The college student is a user. He is hating to fold the laundry because he does not know how to do it properly. This is what we mean by the gap. That is what we have to identify, which will be an opportunity. Finding the insights and patterns that repeatedly emerge from multiple analysis of data is always beneficial. Therefore, in this mode, we use a mix of different kinds of methods in order to gain multiple perspectives of the context for a fuller understanding. The guidelines are the principles that are generated in this mode help us to move to the next mode for exploring concepts and framing solutions. So what we do here, we find insights. We identify patterns and results about people and the context and looking for insights. We model the system, diagramming the context as a system as it shows its components, relationships, attributes and value flow. So what we do? So we user is a center point. We chalk out all his requirements, needs, difficulties and all that through a form of a diagram, which will help us to get the insights better. Finding clusters, sorting data in different ways, finding groupings and relevant high-level insights, finding patterns, visualizing research findings as a diagrams, and trying to reveal the hotspots, gaps and overlaps. So we will find the pattern so that we can identify which is a prime area to work on. Is there any overlapping? And try to make profiles defining attributes of the key stakeholders and other parts of the system. So who will be the end users? What are their needs and requirements like budget, lifestyles, culture and all that. And mapping flows, visualizing how value flows in the network of producers that manufacture, consumer, supplier and other stakeholders. So there will be a manufacturer, there will be a purchaser. In between a manufacturer and a purchaser, there will be a supplier and the other stakeholders like delivery persons, like what we call it as courier persons, packing persons, and all that will be involved. So how this will help those communities also. Mapping experiences. This we do it through journey map with respect to space and time, where our experience lies. Maybe in the college, maybe in the house, maybe in this other one, and what time, and what are the difficulties in our experiences, which will help us to show the opportunities and making frameworks, summarizing the insights and translating them into frameworks and guidelines to drive the concept generations is what we have to look at mode 4. Finding insights, modeling systems, finding clusters, finding patterns, making profiles, mapping flows, mapping experiences and mapping frameworks. Mode 5. Once you have framed the insights, now you have to generate ideas. This is where we have explore concepts. In this mode, we do structured brainstorming, structured discussions to identify the opportunities and to explore the new methods or ideas or concepts. We use insights and principles framed earlier as starting places to generate concepts. We ensure that fresh and bold ideas are generated through collaborative sessions, like having people with different backgrounds, technical backgrounds, or people with different expertises sitting together. Team members will build on each other concepts while carefully postponing critical evaluation. So you should not come to a conclusion immediately in this stage. You will have to generate as many number of concepts or as many number of ideas possible, but not finalizing on which idea you want, because that will help in what are the different possibilities that you can provide a solution with. Further, by basing our concepts on the results from previous modes, we ensure that the concepts are defensible and grounded in reality. They are feasible and viable. So we can explore it in the form of products, services, communication, environments, brands, and business models. Even at this stage of exploration, we construct rough prototypes. So we should construct a rough prototype to see whether the concept is actually realizable, rather than just focusing on team discussion. We can also get an early client feedback when you develop a rough prototype. So this is actually where we create a concept space, converting insights to design principles, reframing assumptions, and making hypotheses for concept generation. Once the framing is done, we define concepts, where we do this by discussions and with the widest solution space permitted by the design principles, and gaining inspiration from metaphors and visualizing the concept. So you should be able to visualize that in your mind. Organizing concepts, sorting out. We might have generated thousands of concepts, so we have to sort out the concepts on under what category they combine. So maybe you may have to recombine one or two concepts, and maybe we may have to divide the concept into logical systems and groups, collecting and archiving the concepts for future reference. So maybe certain concepts may work here, certain concepts may not fit in. So we have to keep them aside, keep them as an archive, which can help us in reframing in the later stages. And once that is done, we should be able to communicate our concepts. How can we communicate our concepts? I have an idea. How will I have to describe you? Maybe through a drawing, sketching, or a diagram, or maybe I develop a small model, which I call it as prototyping, or visualization, or storytelling, narrating, which will help us to understand, validate, and convey their value. This is what we do in exploration, explore concepts. So once the conceptualization is done, we frame solutions. So here we build on large set of concepts that have been developed in earlier by combining them to form system of concepts, and we name them as system of concepts, we name them as solutions. So here we evaluate the concepts and identify the ones that bring the most value to the stakeholder, that is the primary user and the business. The most valuable concepts are combined into systems of concepts that work together well and reinforce each other's value. So here we will try to evaluate the concepts based on their compatibilities to help from holistic solutions. We ensure that the concepts and solutions are organized into useful categories and hierarchies. We iteratively prototype solutions and test them in real-world settings. In this mode, descriptions of solutions are turned into depictions to give the team, the user, and clients a sense of what it could be. So here we will be generating options, combining many point concepts. So what we do in this frame solutions? Generate options, combine many point concepts, explore concepts mode into set of solution options for further selection. Systemizing concepts, that is clustering and synthesizing, evaluating concepts, communicating solutions, and organizing solutions. So in this frame solution, right. So welcome back. Once we have framed the solutions, then we have to look at how we can physically generate a solution. So once the potential solutions are framed and prototypes are tested, they need to be evaluated to move to implementation. In this mode, we ensure that the solutions are built around people's experiences and can provide a real value. So what we do here in this stage, we will build prototypes, developing prototypes to test details, feasibility, viability, and technical specifications. We will define strategies, determining what will be the market position, what are the different platforms in which our solution can be used, who can be our partners, what will be the business plan key to this innovation success, and defining tactics. So here we'll have to identify the capabilities necessary to achieve strategies and plan development trajectory or development path. And we should also develop initiatives. So to develop these initiatives, we need to gather resources. What will be the budget for development? What will be the scheduling? Whom should I hire for development of this? How can I create plans for pilots and launches? This is what we will look in the mode 7. So once you start from sensing the intent, knowing the content, knowing the people, framing insights, exploring concepts, framing solutions, and then the realization of the offerings. This is where all the principles of design innovation process incorporating 7 modes of operation will come into the picture. So it is always better understanding this entire design innovation process, and a life cycle is an initial requirement to achieving the relevant organization. So if we can follow this 2x2 matrix or a framework of real abstraction, framing, and developing, we'll always be able to provide a rightful insight with a human-centered way. So in the coming chapters, we will be discussing each of these modes. Whatever that we have done so far is only giving you what will be these modes. We will be studying all these 7 modes of operation in detail. Unit 2 will be your mode 1 and mode 2, where we will be studying them in detail.